Okay, now you can get your calculators out. I actually encourage you to use calculators on this next part, on the whole thing. Okay, now one thing that's important, on these first three, they give you numbers to put in for the letters, so you need to do so. So I need to see the letters just disappear and numbers take their place. So I got 4 parentheses minus a parentheses and then a parentheses. So x, we're going to put the negative 10 there. And then x, we're going to put another negative 10, and then y is going to be 2. Okay, so now all the numbers in place. Now, if you have any subtraction, which you do right here, you need to fix that. We have minus, and then the number after it's negative, so that's going to be plus, plus. So plus, and that's plus. Okay, now I go through my steps. Parentheses, I have parentheses, but all of them just have one number inside. Multiplication, division, well, I have to multiply here and here. So 4 times negative 10 is negative 40 plus, and then 10 times 2 is 20. There is no division. Now do your addition. You can add those. Negative 4 plus 20 is 40 plus 20 is negative 20. And that's your answer. Okay, next up. Let's get rid of the letters. So 5 parentheses plus another parentheses. X is negative 6, y is 2. Okay, there are no minus signs. Okay, that there is a negative sign, not a minus sign. If you don't know what's what, you can come ask me. So parentheses, I have some, but they all just have one number inside. Okay, so I can skip that. Now multiply and divide, I need to multiply right here. 5 times negative 6 is negative 30, and then I plus 2. There is no division, and then addition. And I can add those, so that's negative 28. Okay, next problem. Negative 4 times the parentheses x minus 3 plus 2. Now, let's put that negative 4 in for x, then see what we have. So negative 4 parentheses, I'm putting negative 4 minus 3 and then plus 2. Okay, now do I have any minus signs? I do. I have this minus 3. I'm subtracting a positive 3, so I'm going to make that plus, and then the 3 that's after it becomes a negative. Okay, now parentheses. I have a parentheses and I can add the numbers inside. We should not leave those unadded because neither one has a letter. So we add them and it's negative 7. Okay, now multiplication. We have negative 4 times negative 7, and negative 4 times negative 7 is 28, and then plus 2. We don't have any division, so adding 28 plus 2 is 30. Okay, now the next one says simplify the expression as much as possible. So there's no numbers you put in for the letters, okay? First off, let's read it. 2x minus 3y. So I don't like that minus 3. I'm going to make it plus negative 3. Plus 7 minus 14x. I'm going to make that plus negative 14x minus 6y plus negative 6y and then plus 1. Now, do you have any parentheses? No, you don't. Do you have anything you'd multiply? No, you don't. Do you have anything you divide? No, you don't. How about add? Yeah, there's quite a few things I'd add in this problem. I've got x's. I've got a 2x and a negative 14x. So we need to add those together right now, and that's negative 12x. Okay, then let's look for y's. I have a negative 3y. And I have a negative 6y, so we add those. Negative 6 plus negative 3 is negative 9y. Okay, and then I got these two numbers that don't even have a letter. I need to add those. 7 plus 1 is 8. Okay, and then the problem is complete. Next one, negative 5 times, and then I've got x. That's 1. I'm going to put a 1 there. If I don't have anything to put in for the x, I'm going to put a 1 in front of it. Okay, so parentheses, I don't have any minuses, so I don't have to switch any signs. Parentheses, I have them, but I can't add those numbers because that has an x, that doesn't. Multiplication, yeah, you got to multiply. You got to take negative 5 times 1x and negative 5 times 3. So I'm going to write negative 5 times 1x, negative 5 times 3. That's going to be negative 5x plus, and then the second product is negative 15. Okay, there's no division. Now addition, you have it, but you can't add negative 5 and negative 15. You leave those unadded, and that's my answer. Okay, simplify the expression as much as possible. Negative 6x minus 8. I don't like the minus, so I make that plus, and that becomes negative. And then all divided by negative 2. So the parentheses, I have a parentheses actually up here, but I can't really add those, so forget that. Do you have any multiplication? No, there's nothing you have to multiply. How about division? Yeah, the big line means there's things you have to divide. You need to divide the negative 6x by negative 2, and you also got to take your negative 8 and divide it by negative 2. So that gives you positive 3x, and that's going to give you 4. And then the adding, you can't add. Okay, number 7, the square root of 14. That means there's a number times itself that gives me a product of 14. What is it? It is 4. Now the next one, the square root of 42. There's really no number times itself that gives you 42, so we're going to need to use our calculator to find that. So to use your calculator, you have to hit the second button, and that little second should pop up, and then this button down here. Okay, see where my hand's at? You hit second, then that button, that pops up. Okay, we're going to put 42 in there, and that's going to be 6.48. Just round to the nearest hundredth. Okay, now the shapes. We got this rectangle. I got a 4. I got an 8x minus 3, which means it's plus negative 3. Up here, 8x plus negative 3, and then a 4. So the perimeter is when I add the sides, okay? So I've got 8x plus negative 3, I have a 4, and then I have another 8x plus negative 3, and then I have a 4. Okay, now you're not going to plug anything in for the x's, so we go into our steps. Parentheses, I have none. Multiplication, division, I do not have either one of those. It's just addition, so I add 8 and 8, and that's 16x. Now you need to add all these other ones together at the same time, okay, not separately. Negative 3 plus 4 plus negative 3 plus 4. Use your calculator. It's encouraged. It's 2. So plus 2, and then we can't add any more. There's my answer. Area, okay? Area is when I take the length and multiply it by the width. So I've got 8x plus negative 3 and then 4, but then you got to put a parenthesis somewhere because this whole thing is one side, so you got to parenthesize that. So I have parentheses, but I cannot add the numbers inside, so let's forget about that. Do you have any multiplication, division? Yeah, you have multiplication, so I come up over the top, and I take 8x times 4 and negative 3 times 4. That's going to give you 32x plus negative 12. And then addition, I can't add those, okay? That's my answer. Okay, story problems. Number 11, a bank account has $500. The person with the account spends $200, puts in $20, spends $400, and puts in $250. Calculate the balance of the bank account after the last transaction. So I'm finding balance means I'm finding the money. So the only important unit in this problem is money, okay? So since that's the only important unit, it's just basic addition, okay? We're just going to add all the units together. So we got $500. They spend $200, so we can either write minus $200 or plus negative $200. They put in $20, so plus $20. Spend $400, so plus negative $400. And they put in $250, so I add those. So I'm going to calculate my answer. 500 plus negative 200 or minus 200 means the same thing. Plus negative 400 plus 250. I got $170, so that's going to be my answer. Okay, number 12. If an eagle travels 600 feet downward over 5 seconds, calculate the rate of change of the eagle's elevation. So I'm going to be finding the rate of change. Now with the rate of change, all I'm going to use is this box here because that per is my rate of change. There's 2 units. We have feet and we have seconds. So I assign an x to the time unit and a y to the feet. So my per, I put the y unit on top, the x unit on bottom. So the feet per second. Okay, so the feet I have is 600. And then the seconds I have is 5, so I divide 600 by 5, I get 120. And it's negative because it goes down. So down here I just put negative 120, and then the label's feet per second. Okay, then the last one. The temperature in the evening currently sits at 68 degrees. Each hour the temperature drops at a constant rate of 4 degrees per hour. Calculate the temperature in 5 hours. So we're finding degrees, that's what we're looking for. So degrees is a key unit, but there's another unit that affects the degrees, and that's hours. Okay, so if I'm trying to find one of the units, but there's another unit to go with it, I'm going to use a line and then write an equation. So x is hours, y is degrees. We always assign the x to the time, per. Degrees per hour. Degrees per hour is 4, but it is negative 4 because it does go down. Okay, then I set up my line. I go x comma y, mx, and then y. That's the setup. Okay, so we know our m is negative 4. We can get that out of there and put negative 4x. So negative 4x is going to be part of the equation. Then at the beginning, remember if you run a stopwatch, your time starts at 0, but the degrees didn't start at 0. They started at 68. Okay, so 68 is part of the equation, and then y. So my equation, we're going to have 68. Then I plus negative 4x, because I don't know how many times I add it, and that equals y. Okay, then 5 hours, since hours has been x, we're going to put 5 in for the x variable. So 68 plus negative 4, let's get a 5 in there, equals y. And let's just punch that into our calculator. 68 plus negative 4 times 5 gives me 48. So this equals 48, so it must equal y, so it equals 48 degrees.